Welcome to the Fall 2020 Ladies Big Book Study Recording Series. My name is Kimberly and I am a recovered alcoholic. I am the facilitator of a tri-weekly Big Book Study for ladies only, and we record each session so we can share the knowledge along with you. What we do is we read the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous line by line. We pause on each page and have discussion time to share our experience, our strength, and our hope on each page. You are more than welcome to follow along in this series and do the work of the steps of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If you do need support at any time, please reach out to me in the Contact Us area of my YouTube channel, and we're happy to provide you with support. The online recordings are open to men and women. Do not be discouraged, gentlemen. Our ladies' point of view may offer you a different perspective. So welcome. I hope you enjoy. Let's get started. So we are at the bottom of page 13. We just read the portion of Bill's story where he was introduced to the tenets of the Oxford group. And it goes a little something like this. My friend promised when these things were done, I would enter upon a new relationship with my Creator, that I would have the elements of a way of living which answered all my problems. Belief in the power of God, plus enough willingness, honesty, and humility to establish and maintain the new order of things were essential requirements. Simple, but not easy. A price had to be paid. It meant destruction of self-centeredness. I must turn in all things to the Father of Light, who presides over us all. These were revolutionary and drastic proposals, but the moment I fully accepted them, the effect was electric. There was a sense of victory, followed by such a peace and serenity as I had never known. There was utter confidence. I felt lifted up, as though the great clean wind of a mountaintop blew through and through. God comes to most men gradually, but his impact on me was sudden and profound. For a moment I was alarmed and called my friend the doctor to ask if I were still sane. He listened in wonder as I talked. Finally, he shook his head, saying, "Something has happened to you. I don't understand, but you had better hang on to it. Anything is better than the way you were." The good doctor now sees many men who have had such experiences. He knows that they are real. While I lay in the hospital, the thought came that there are thousands of hopeless alcoholics who might be glad to have what had been so freely given me. Perhaps I could help some of them. They, in turn, might work with others. That is my favorite reading in this entire book. I've done a whole talk on it. So it starts with his friend promising, when these things were done. When these things were done. So he's listed all of the tenets, which we now know are the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, the program as suggested in the book. When these things were done, all the things, not some of the things. So you hear a lot of times people that maybe come out of treatment and it sounds a little something like this. I'm 60 days sober. I just got out of treatment. I got my job back. My wife's not mad at me. And my bills are paid. I just got a new car. All the promises are coming true. And you ask them, are you working with others? Oh, no, I'm not there yet. Have you made all your amends? Oh, no. I know. Then the promises aren't coming true for you. It says, when these things were done, I would enter upon a new relationship with my Creator. So you have to actually do all the steps and the work within them, not just read them and understand them. You actually have to be practicing them. You would have the elements of a way of living which answered all my problems. All my problems. There is an answer to all of my problems, and I can find it in this book, whether it be relationships, whether it be the death of my ex-husband that I was dealing with yesterday, whether it be arguments with people at work, or anything at all. There's a spiritual solution to all my problems in this book. Acceptance is not the answer to all of my problems today. I know a lot of people say that. They always refer to page 417. That is a story of a gentleman who fought with his wife. He was practicing all of these principles in all of his affairs. A lot of people mislead newcomers by sending them to page 417 and telling them just to have acceptance of things that they can't control. That's not helpful. Giving them a spiritual solution and connecting them to God, who will help them solve all their problems, is a solution. What happens if I accept things I can't control is I get resentments. Acceptance is the root of all of my resentments if I don't practice these spiritual principles with regards to those problems. This is actually repeated again on page 42 where it says spiritual principles will solve all my problems. It's actually in there another time, but I haven't written down the page number and I'm not that proficient. A spiritual way of living and a reliance on a higher power will answer all your problems. And it goes on in a couple of pages to say that there's not a problem amongst us that hasn't been solved through this solution. And that is true. I have seen the most impossible things come around in a person's favor and be solved on a spiritual basis. And all we need to have is willingness, honesty, and humility. And then the next page, my absolute favorite thing, it tells us the price of this program. Tells us the price. You want peace and serenity? This isn't free. There is a cost. It is freely passed on from one to another because we have gratitude for this amazing gift we're given, but there's a cost to this freedom. It's the complete destruction of self-centeredness. So if you would like all of these gifts, that's the cost. Complete destruction of self-centeredness, turning in all things to the Father of Light who presides over us all. And let me tell you, I've experienced that because I was the most self-centered princess ever. And now I think of others first. I think of others before myself. If I'm having a bad day, I throw myself the harder into working with others. I spoke to 3 newcomers yesterday because yesterday was a crappy day for me. It got me out of self. And what happened? I had a wonderful day. I actually had given away my hosting last night because I thought selfishly that I was going to need to spend it to be by myself because I was having a bad day. What happened? I reconsidered because that voice in my head, which is God, urged me to share what I was going through because that's how I get through a bad day. And it ended up being a profound meeting last night. So we turn in all things to the Father of Light, we get rid of self-centeredness, and what do we get? Utter confidence. Oh, I can walk into a room with my shoulders back, my head held high. I'm not worried what people are thinking about me, saying about me, caring about me. I have absolute, utter confidence because I rely upon my higher power. Peace and serenity. When I wake up in the morning, my head is clear. There are no voices. There are no manipulations. There's no plotting, conspiring, and thinking. I listen to the birds chirping and the rain falling. And I think, what do I have to do today? Most of the time, it involves a lot of service. And as a result, my days are beautiful and serene. That is what I get from this program. It's right here on this page. A sense of victory, peace and serenity, and utter confidence. What I had before was ego. I pretended to be this girl because I didn't have what I have. The confidence that I eluded was all false confidence based in ego. That's gone now. I just have confidence because I'm me, authentically me with peace in my heart. And it's amazing. And that happened to Bill. And as he sat in the hospital, he's talking to the doctor and he's like, am I crazy? Have I completely lost my mind, doc? And the doctor is like, no, but whatever you got, you better keep it. So he's still detoxing in the hospital and he thinks this is so amazing. He needs to shout it and help all these other alcoholics. Once you've gotten this gift, You want everybody to have it. You can't hold it in because it's so amazing. Like sometimes I wish I had some glasses that I could give to someone that would give them a glimpse into the peace into my mind and my heart. That's how amazing this program is. So, anybody else love page 14 as much as me? Anyone want to share?
Hard act to follow there, girl.
Mel, there's a whole hour talk about my page 14.
I've literally only just noticed it as you read it this time. That I think that paragraph, that these were revolutionary and drastic proposals, but the moment I fully accepted them, that's accepting the proposals are then destruction of self-centeredness and turning all things to the Father of light. It's accepting that. But I was thinking that it's acceptance of. That's where because I've said it myself, acceptance is the answer, and that's where I've got it from. That, I've just got to accept things and then it'll be fine. But it's not everything. It's not worded like that, is it? It's just those two things that I've got to accept. Is that right? Or
yeah, absolutely. The moment I fully accepted these proposals, it's the moment you've made that decision that this is the way you're gonna live your life. It's amazing. The moment I fully accepted these proposals, I had a revolutionary change, right? It's like not this cherry picking, on the wall, I'll do this step, that step, that step. It's like, you know what? This could work for me. I'm going to accept this into my life and put it into play. And once you do that, bam, the train. Yeah. Amazing things happen.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. And if we break it down, like the serenity prayer too. So the serenity prayer says, help me accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can. So, for example, if I get a cancer diagnosis, I accept the fact that I have cancer, but I have the courage to change how I deal with it. I can make sure I go to regular doctor's visits. I can get a second opinion. I can find out the different therapies available. I don't just have to accept I'm going to die, but I can accept that this is something I've been dealt with. Where are we going to go from here? Or if your husband leaves you, I'm not accepting the whole situation. It's just acceptance of the situation. He left me. Okay. Now what? This is the steps I can take. These are the things I can change. This is what I can do. This is how I can move forward. It's not the fact that you have to accept the fact that he's left you and like be all like, oh, yeah. It's like, okay, that happened. What can we do about it? Anybody else? I see smiles. Michelle. Oops, I hit your button. Do it again. There we go.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I was hesitant to share, but I guess it means I should probably share. So I love this description where he says it felt like a wind from a mountaintop blew through and through. So I was a couple months sober, and to put things in perspective, when I first got sober, I shook horribly. I shook all the time. I was horrible. Scared people away kind of thing. And after being sober a couple months, working the steps, that kind of thing, blah, 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 I suddenly felt this incredible whoosh that felt like almost exactly what he's describing. A wind that went through me, a sort of peace and calm, and it felt eerie because I'd never experienced it. Everything prior to that had been just pure agony, anxiety, panic, that kind of thing. And I picked up the phone and I called my sponsor because I said to her, I'm really scared. I don't know what this feeling is, and told her about it. And she said, that's the beginning of serenity, and enjoy it. And just keep working because it comes more and more. That morning, it only lasted a couple of minutes, but what she said came true over time, that the the duration was longer and longer. It came more often, that kind of thing. And for the most part, I live that now. And I'm just so grateful when I think about where I came from versus this whoosh and this God connection is something that's just absolutely priceless. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much. And I totally get it. After I left that abusive relationship that I had my 1 year when everything fell apart and I moved into my new condo, I had this vision in my head of me sitting peacefully in this corner overlooking the green space drinking tea because I had never been able to sit by myself quietly. I always had to have the TV on in the background or be busy, or if my kids weren't here, I would go out and run around and do a bunch of stuff because I could never actually just sit still in myself. Now I can sit in my house, the cat and the dog are sleeping, it's dead quiet, and I'm peaceful. And I actually have a picture of me sitting in that spot because it's like that's the peace that we get, where our head's not going and we can actually just sit still and just be. And it's absolutely amazing. Marianne Toronto.
Hi, friends. I am an alcoholic from Toronto. My name's Marianne. Grateful to be here. Grateful to be sober. Nice to see everybody today. I remember I was sobering up, and there was an old timer. I was going to a ladies' meeting, and there was an old long timer, I should say, because she's older and she doesn't like the name old timer. And she kept saying, how you doing? How you doing? And I said, well, I haven't been drinking. And she said, have you felt a shift yet, Marianne? And I went, I haven't been drinking. And I continued to go to meetings, and I continued working with my sponsor, and we went through the big book, and I did the steps in that. And we were at this lady's gratitude meeting at Christmas the next year. And it was my turn to speak. And I said, you know what? Because I always try to articulate my gratitude and stuff, but I didn't know what to say. And I didn't really think about what to say, but I said, I'm just grateful I don't have to drink anymore. And I started bawling. And she came up to me after and she goes, that's your shift, Marianne, that's your shift. And I went, oh, okay. And she goes, keep coming, keep doing what you're doing. And it was just like, it was such an amazing feeling because it wasn't like I couldn't name a spiritual experience, but it had to be pointed out to me. So I'm just so grateful to be here and I have a chance to share that today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it usually happens and you don't even realize it till afterward. And then it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, hey, woo. Susan and Betty. Whoops, I hit your button. Do it again.
Susan, I'm an alcoholic, and I have to say this is one of my favorite lines too. The great clean wind blowing from the mountaintop. And I actually had that same experience that someone just mentioned, and I think a lot of us have had a very similar experience. I think I was about 8 months sober, and I look back on all the things I was trying to juggle at the time, and I thought I was doing really great. But let me tell you, I was pretty much of a wreck. And I'm thinking, I've hit 8 months sober. When is this all going to start to change? Job, people, blah, 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 blah. And looking back, I realized I had set some pretty high expectations for myself. That once I had that, the desire to stop drinking was completely lifted the first time I uttered the words, oh my gosh, I'm an alcoholic. Gone. No more desire to drink. And I thought, boy, that's it. I found the solution. Now I'm ready to go. I just won't drink anymore and my life will be perfect. Well, it wasn't like that. But about 8 months sober, I was driving along and I was all twisted in knots. I was heading to work and I was just anxious and anxious. It was a beautiful morning. And all of a sudden, this feeling came over me. And it was the wind, the clean wind, the mountaintop. I had to pull off to the side of the road. It hit me so hard. And I was like, what is going on? I thought, am I having seeing the white light? Am I going to die here? I've never felt this way before in my life. And I was really just sitting there, clenching the steering wheel, thinking, what is going on? And I realized that my mind was completely quiet and calm. And I just looked around at the beauty of everything that was surrounding me. And I thought, whoa. And it dawned on me, or it came to me, that this was serenity. And within a few seconds, it was gone. But having had that experience at that particular point in my sobriety, anytime I needed it, and even today, any time where I feel so frantic, I can close my eyes and take myself back to that spot along the river 27 years ago, where I had to pull my car off the road because I couldn't fathom what was happening to me. It was just that profound an experience. So whenever I read this part, it takes me right back to there. And I'm so glad to hear other people that have had that same experience. It's just a phenomenal experience. Thanks.
Thank you so much. All right. Bottom of page 14, if anybody joined us late. My friend had emphasized the absolute necessity of demonstrating these principles in all my affairs. Particularly, it was imperative to work with others as he had worked with me. Faith without works was dead, he said, and how appallingly true for the alcoholic. For if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. If he did not work, he would surely drink again, and if he drank, he would surely die. Then faith would be dead indeed. With us, it is just like that. My wife and I abandon ourselves with enthusiasm to the idea of helping other alcoholics to a solution of their problems. It was fortunate for my old business associates remained skeptical for a year and a half, during which time I found little work. I was not too well at the time. I was plagued by waves of self-pity and resentment. This sometimes nearly drove me back to drink. But I soon found that when all other measures failed, work with another alcoholic would save the day. Many times I have gone to my old hospital in despair. On talking to a man there, I would be amazingly lifted up and set on my feet. It is a design for living that works in rough going. And I'm going to stop that reading right there because I want to talk about that so much. So a lot of people, when they talk about the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, they say, I did my set of steps. And they think that that's the solution. But the next part of that, like I have a semicolon tattooed on my hand. There's a semicolon after I did my set of steps. My story's not over yet. I'm not done. There is no period at the end of did a set of steps. This book tells us over and over and over again, this is a beginning. This is a beginning. This is a beginning. It's in here a million times. And the answer to what is after that beginning is at the bottom and top of this page. We need to perfect and enlarge our spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others. That is where we grow. That is the semicolon after I did my set of steps. A set of steps is only the beginning. It is not the program. We need to continue for a lifetime. Self-sacrifice and working with others. That's where we grow. And what happens? We survive the certain trials and low spots again. You want to know who's suffering right now? Those who are not working with others. Those who do not sponsor. You know what the past 6 months has been for me? Fucking amazing. I'm in service. I sponsor women. I host this big book study. I am living and breathing this program each and every day, and I'm helping other people. Yesterday was a shitty day. It was 2 years since my ex-husband died, and my kids didn't have a dad. I had a lot of emotions yesterday. I reached out. I helped newcomers. I hosted a meeting. I took all the calls I physically could when it was proper timing. And guess what? Here I am today, still sober. Am I depressed? Am I in self-pity? Nope. It was just a day. I felt the feels, and I'm through it. That's the amazing thing about this program. Christmas Eve, my other shittiest day of the year. I don't have my kids on Christmas Eve. I have no other family in my life. I am estranged from my entire family because they're toxic. What do? I go to 3 meetings. And you know what I do at those meetings? Hey, hi, how are ya? My name's Kim. Hey, I'm great. How are you? I'm like, good. Moving to the next person. Hey, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm good. Great, good to see you. Hey, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm having a shitty day. My name's Kim. Can I sit here? I sit next to the person having a shitty day. I've told my sponsor I'm having a shitty day. I tell people for the 3 weeks going up to Christmas Eve that that's my worst day of the year because I know. And I'm able to apply these principles in my life. I apply these principles in all areas of my life. Parenting, my business, my relations with other people, my relationship with my partner. It works. And as a result, I'm pretty freaking happy. My life's pretty freaking amazing. Bill talks about it here. He was plagued with self-pity and resentment. People go out over that. What does Bill do? He goes to his hospital to find people to work with. We can go to meetings. We can go to treatment centers. We can do detox panels. We can go to jails and institutions. Don't tell me there's no newcomers. Come on down to 164 every night. It's like it's a pickup bar. You can find newcomers galore. Working with another alcoholic saves the day. It says later in our book, nothing ensures immunity like working with another alcoholic. Can you get where I'm going with this? Working with another alcoholic. It saves the day. You grow. The more you read this book, the more you grow, the more you find. 4 years in, I've read this book 100 and something times, maybe 200 times. I'm still finding new things in it, and I'm seeing it in a new light, and I'm growing. Anne-Marie?
Hi, I'm Anne Marie. I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I know what you mean by working with another alcoholic. I have a few sponsees, and I woke up this morning feeling kind of, yesterday was a dull day, and I was feeling sorry for myself, and I was in charge of finding the reading for our Friday morning meeting, me and the sponsees. And I found something that applied to me from the AA Way of Life, all these things from Bill, his letters and things. And it helped. But then one of my sponsees dropped the bomb. And it didn't make me feel better. I have to start with that. It didn't make me feel better, but it certainly put my problems in perspective. If nothing else, it brings me back down to size, to my proper size. I may not walk away from such an encounter feeling, as he says, amazingly lifted up. That won't happen every time, but it'll certainly make me pause and realize that most of my problems are first world problems, and I will be grateful for having only first world problems. So working with others can help in so many other ways. You will not necessarily float away on a feeling of nirvana from working with someone, but you will feel something. You will grow. Thanks.
And it's not always profound. Like, we're not saving the universe here. We're keeping ourselves sober. And that's the biggest thing we have to remember when we're doing this service work. We're just carrying this message that was given to us. What people do with it, that's their business. Is it keeping you sober? Abso-freaking-lutely it is. So don't take on a pilgrimage to try to save the world, because we're just trying to share our love for what we have and our gratitude for what we have, and what people do with that is a completely individual basis. Yes, Kathy. Oops, I muted you. Damn, I'm sucking at the mute button today. Can you do it again? There you go.
There I go. I'm Kathy. I'm an addict alcoholic. I'm calling from New Hampshire. This is my first time at this meeting, and I'm very grateful you're all here. Hi. So I just wanted to speak a little bit about working with others, as the immunity and the way that I keep my own um, remission, I'd like to think of it as. So a couple of years back, I did have a cancer diagnosis, and I did go through almost a year of chemotherapy and work, and it was hard. I never really thought about it as being hard. I just got up every day and did what I needed to do. Thankfully, this program has taught me that. But I was very tired, and I would, talk to my sponsor and say, I'm so tired, and I don't have anything to do today. And she'd say, well, why don't you make some phone calls and see how other people are doing? And I did that. I would like go through my phone lists and talk to people, and I did that every day. And one day I called someone and they said, "Oh, this is my first anniversary. Thank you so much for calling." And it really did help, and it was something that I could do. I mean, I did have people bringing meetings to me at my house and things because I couldn't get out, but that was a great way to work my working with others. I really wasn't in a position to sponsor. I wasn't that coherent, but anyway, I also just have to add though that I have to be mindful of how much I give, because I have to keep my balance, and so that I'm in, maintain my serenity, my peace of mind, my well-being. So it's a constantly like a weighing and measuring of how much I give, how much I don't give, and so I'm just coming out of a situation where I really helped someone a lot. It took a lot of time, and I'm quarantining right now because this person was out of the New England area. So I'm not doing anything. I mean, I'm cleaning the house a little, but I'm allowing myself to sleep in and just, to get my balance back. So I wanted to add that point about it is good. It is necessary. It's a condition on which we receive our sobriety, is that we work with other people. I really believe that. That's the deal. Let me just take a look here. There was something else I wanted to mention. No, I guess that's it. I can't remember what else I was going to say. But thank you all for being here and your service for being here. I'm very excited to find a daytime meeting that I can make. Alrighty, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad you're in double remission. That's fantastic. And I love your desk in the back. That's how I picture New Hampshire desks and rooms to be. I'm so funny. I'm obsessed with the East Coast of the States. Joanne knows. Joanne, go ahead. I think you're unmuted.
Got it. I got it.
Yes.
I got it. Hi, everyone. I'm Joanne. I'm an alcoholic addict, and I'm grateful to be here. And I love Kathy. Kathy and I actually can physically see each other every now and then. So that's great. Fellowship, sisterhood, working with others. I had an experience last night where, and listening to the reading today, I'm just reminded that I'm a guide for people to want to know how I got sober. They ask me, how did you get sober? So I get the big book and I share my experience, strength, and hope. And so last night I was working with someone and we spent a lot of time talking, and I said to my higher power, something's not clicking. It's kind of like I'm teaching her and she's not learning, right? And finally, I just put the book aside and I said, I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me that I don't usually tell many people. And I told her the story. But there was a lesson in that story which was connected to 2 hours of conversation. And she went, oh, I get it. And I think that's the difference between going to a doctor, where the doctor will tell you what you need to do and everything. But there's something about the fellowship and sharing our experience, our stories, our heartache, you know, where alcoholism and drugs took us and what we did to ourselves and what we did to others, that no doctor or psychiatrist will ever take the time to tell you, because it's just not their realm. And we don't play doctor or therapist either. But what we can do is, this is what happened to me, and I got sober, and I understood that's where alcoholism and drugs took me, you know, and I didn't want to be there anymore. And something more powerful than myself helped me to stop, you know, one day at a time, to stop doing that and stop ending up in those situations. And there's the hope. And so with working for others, with others, I have learned so much more than they could possibly imagine from them. I've learned how brave and courageous I can be when some of them don't make it, and that I still believe in the program, that there's a leap of faith that I share with someone that comes in, and I'm not sure they're going to make it, but I keep putting the faith that it's there because I know it has worked for me. And so enlarging my spiritual life, I want to share this one thing. So I went recently this year, I went through this thing of saying, maybe I need a bigger God. And I was at one of our gas stations, and I ran into a woman from program with some time, and we were talking a mini meeting, right? And so I said to her, so my new thing is like, maybe I just need a bigger God. And she says to me in a very loving way, maybe you just need to get smaller. And I was like, oh, damn, another growing experience. That's what working with others is, because we're just never done. Thank God. And that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joanne. In my mind, I'm like, just get a bigger God. Just create it. Lois.
Yes, I'm Lois. I'm an alcoholic, and I truly believe that I haven't stopped growing yet, and I'm okay with that. That's why I'm here. That's why I come to these meetings. And the other reason I come to the meetings is when that newcomer comes, the first thing I do is put in the chat the ID number for 164 and beyond, because some of the meetings around my area, just of those watered down meetings that people are so used to. And I know this program works, and I know that the people at this meeting are the ones that know this is working. So I want them to get introduced to the real program and understand that there is a solution. That's what we were reading in our Big Book meeting the other night. There is a solution. And I love the line where it says, we are confronted with people that have recovered from this program, and the only thing we can do is pick up this spiritual set of tools. And, you know, to me, that's the program. You know, we're here to show the other people that spiritual set of tools. You know, some of them want it, some of them don't, but I'm here to just show you what worked for me. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Lois. Lee, go ahead. I saw you waving. No? Yes? Yeah, okay, unmute. You can do it. There you go.
Hi, I'm Lee, and I'm an alcoholic, and I wasn't planning on sharing. I was waving at Lois for what she was saying. Oh. But I probably do have some thoughts. I think having been here for a while in this program, I've experienced it in so many different ways. And one of the things that's really great about the Zoom is the variety of thinking and the variety that comes at you, and the opinions, and the, you know, I love your confidence about how you teach us and tell us this stuff, but it's like, it's so, it just gets your brain going. And that's why I'm here, because my brain had a rest. I would call it, it had a rest for a couple of years. It wasn't drinking, but it wasn't growing. And so this is like the growth spurt of the century here for me. And I'm underlining my book a lot. So thank you very much, Kim. And thanks very much to everybody that's sharing. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much, Lee. All right. And yes, 164 is a meeting, and I just put the information in the chat. Thank you. All right, middle of 15. Here we go, finishing off Bill's story. We commenced to make many fast friends, and a fellowship has grown up amongst us, of which it is a wonderful thing to feel a part. The joy of living we really have, even under pressure and difficulty. I have seen hundreds of families set their feet in the path that really goes somewhere. I have seen the most impossible domestic situations righted, feuds and bitterness of all sorts wiped out. I have seen men come out of asylums and resume a vital place in the lives of their families and communities. Business and professional men have regained their standing. There is scarcely any form of trouble and misery which has not been overcome among us. In one Western cities and its environs, there are 1,000 of us and our families. We meet frequently so that newcomers may find the fellowship they seek. At these informal gatherings, one may often see from 50 to 200 persons. We are growing in numbers and power. An alcoholic in his cups is an unlovely creature. Our struggles with them are variously strenuous, comic, and tragic. One poor chap committed suicide in my home. He could not or would not see our way of life. There is, however, a vast amount of fun about it all. I suppose some would be shocked at our seeming worldliness and levity. But just underneath there is a deadly earnestness. Faith has to work 24 hours a day in and through us, or we perish. Most of us feel we need to look no further for utopia. We have it with us right here and now. Each day, my friend's simple talk in our kitchen multiplies itself in a widening circle of peace on earth and goodwill to all men. Bill W., co-founder of AA, died January 24th, 1971. In 2014, AA is composed of approximately 115,000 groups. So to go on to that first paragraph, look at this example of that paragraph. We commenced to make many fast friends, and a fellowship has grown amongst us with the joy of living even under pressure and difficulty. This pandemic is a huge, huge spotlight on that very paragraph. We commenced to Zoom. We started these meetings on Zoom. And now I'm friends with people all over the world. We were friends like that. We got on Zoom. We got to know each other. We got to hear our difficulties. We got to see newcomers come in and embrace them. And we've seen this new fellowship on Zoom grow up right before our eyes. We've experienced the same thing that our forefathers experienced 85 years ago in the past 6 months, in a weird online way. I personally have seen exactly that happen, where all sorts of miracles have happened. I have seen a man who used to be a criminal on the streets get sober, go to college, get his law degree, and he is now a lawyer in the very court that he used to be convicted of crimes in. Like, amazing, amazing stories of success that I've heard time and time again. Sit in meetings long enough and you hear every domestic situation and stories of how people have overcome their difficulties. On the other page, the reason we meet. We meet frequently so that newcomers may find our fellowship. Drives me mental. when people say, I need a meeting, I'm suffering. We go to meetings so newcomers can get hope that this will work for them. I don't want to hear that your dog died. I don't want to hear that your boyfriend's cheating on you. That's a country music song. Call your sponsor. Call your step 10 buddy. At a meeting, I want to hear what it was like, what happened, and how you are now, and how your relationship with God is, and how you're applying this program to your life. I don't want to hear that your dog's got fleas. That's not what we share in a meeting. That doesn't help the newcomer. Please stop doing that if you do that. Share your experience, strength, and hope. We meet for the newcomer to find our fellowship so that we can embrace them and show them our solution. And then it talks about, an alcoholic in his cup is unlovely. Our struggles with them are strenuous, comedic at times, and tragic. I've had sponsees die. I've had sponsees that call me with the most ridiculous things because they got loaded, and it's funny, but it's not. It's a strenuous program, but that's what we're here for. And, one poor chap committed suicide. My favorite line when working with others, he could not or would not see our way of life. He could not. He would not. Has nothing to do with me. I shared last night about my ex-husband. He was remanded into jail until he was court-ordered into treatment, and then he went to court-ordered AA, and he went to a court-ordered halfway house. He didn't get sober. He died of this disease 2 years ago yesterday. Why? Because he could not or would not see our way of life. He couldn't get honest with himself. There's nothing I can do, nothing we can do. All we need to do is share our experience, strength, and hope each and every day. Faith has to work 24 hours a day. I walk this walk. I talk this talk. I share my light with hopes that it can click in someone and their mustard seed starts to grow. And I've found utopia, and I live in it each and every day. Mary B., welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name's Mary. I'm an alcoholic from Arizona right now. And I really want to thank you, Kimberly, for mentioning, thank you for this meeting, number one, but also for mentioning the fact that we're on Zoom these days. I agree with you. I think that this has been quite an amazing part of my journey, is the ability to go to meetings. Like today, I see two friends that told me about this meeting in the first place, and they're in Florida, and I'm here in Arizona, and then one of my sponsees is here. It's amazing how we can all get together, and I've discovered a meeting. It's a meeting in Australia, of all things, and it's a smaller meeting. It's a meditation meeting on Thursday mornings. My time, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. But in Australia, it's 8 o'clock that night. And for me, this international thing is amazing. And I just think that the Zoom has really helped us. And I thank you so much also for that. The link to the 164, I'm going to check that out and be there one of these days too. So thank you everyone for being here. You're all part of my journey and all keeping me sober today. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Zoom, I love it. I loved it before this happened. That's how 164 and Beyond started. For those who don't know, I was the remote communities chair in my area, and we had a remote meeting to help people that were up in the oil fields, and we saw the potential, and man, did we learn the major potential when the pandemic hit. And it's just like, Zoom is incredible. You can get a variety of everything. You can find meetings like anywhere. If you're stuck on the side of the road in your car, you can Zoom in from your phone. Like, it's amazing. And I get to meet amazing ladies like Joanne.
Do you mind if I double dip, Kim?
Oh, I said Joanne first, but you can go right after Joanne.
Okay.
Yeah, we double dip.
Oh,
That's
okay,
a
well-
saying we have in our area.
Okay, double dip.
Okay, yeah. It's a free kind of conversation if you.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so real quickly, you shared about when you go to meetings, please share your experience, strength, and hope. And I just want to share a lesson I learned about Zoom, and I needed someone with a lot of time to help me through this. I was starting to reach out, like I'm available to sponsor. But I had a lesson where I took on someone who turns out had other addictions and other issues. And the one thing I want to say, if you choose to go down that road, what I learned is that I want to try to help people find fellowship near where they live. Because I had a weekend where this sponsee, I think she was really close to ODing, and I couldn't get any information to maybe send 911 or any of that. And I was powerless. And so the one thing that I think is really important if we take people on for Zoom is to be able to see how, as soon as possible, who in your area is in program. So, I do sponsor someone in Canada, but she tells me who her home group is, who her people are. And I think that's really critical because it was a weekend of hell. Her, slurring, there's nobody else. There's nobody else. And I'm like, she's on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast. It was a nightmare. And an old timer was like, the best thing you can do with that, that kind of situation is try to plug them in to local. Even if those meetings are local Zoom meetings, fellowship is, this is great. I love all of this. But sometimes people need to know that their backs are being, some people have their backs and they're like in the same town, if possible. And fellowship can be big, but it also can be small. And so I just wanted to share that. She didn't die, but I encouraged her that she really needed to find some people around her to support her that is local. And that's what I wanted to share about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy?
Yes, double dip is something that's in our, where we're from in New Hampshire. I just wanted to say, Kim, I agree with you that I like to hear experience, strength, and hope. And I do believe that our meetings are there for newcomers. But I, over time have really found that the less and less and less that I try to control something, the better it is for me and for others. And I truly believe that what is said at a meeting is what is God has meant to be said at a meeting. And I pass no judgment if someone wants to talk about how their dog has fleas, because maybe that's what's keeping them from taking a drink today. And so I just want to say that with due respect with what you have, I disagree. I think that, yes, we should carry the message as much as we can. But when I was going through cancer for a year, I didn't moan and groan, but I talked a lot about the challenges I was having and how I was applying my program to get through the day. And I cried. I cried at meetings. It was hard. And I've grieved. I have a lot of trauma in my past. And I used to go to meetings, particularly when I was new. I've been around for a long time. When I was new, I cried. I think I cried for a year. And people just told me that those were years and years of frozen tears that had been trapped because of alcoholism. And nobody judged me because I wasn't sharing my experience, strength, and hope. I really just wanted to put it out there about control. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for including that when you were sharing, you included your how you were applying the solution to the end. Because I think that's the missing piece when people are sharing their difficulties, is they just unload their difficulties at the meeting and they don't add on how they're applying this program to help them overcome it. And another example that I thought of as you're sharing is I've heard people divulge some things from a podium that really should be kept to a private conversation, because they could get them into a whole lot of trouble, either legally or professionally, because you don't know who's sitting in the room as well. Some things are best left to your fifth step with a trusted confidant, as opposed to a meeting full of strangers where you don't know where they're going to share that information. I just say that as a disclaimer because I've heard people had things come back after they've shared them at the podium. Suzanne.
Hi, I'm Suzanne, and I'm a grateful alcoholic, and Kimberly, my heart goes out to you, and we shared a shitty day together in our hearts. So thank you for sharing that. It was a crappy day. Threefold. I went to a meeting once, and I learned before the meeting that my girlfriend, who was at the psych ward. And then there was something else that went on, and by the end of the meeting, they picked everybody around the circle except me. And they ran out of time, and I was being triggered. And this woman went on and on about how she prayed to God for her furniture guy to come fix her couch. And then another girl was saying, I'm going to drink. I'm not an alcoholic. It was a closed meeting, and I needed to share. And I didn't hear them say that if you are triggered at a meeting, please grab someone and talk to somebody. And it was my sponsor who triggered me. So it was very neurotic, because that's how I rock and roll. So I just want to say that we went to the top to figure out that woman who said she was going to drink rosé, who was triggering me, because rosé is a trigger for me, actually probably had a drinking problem and needed to be there talking about how she was going to drink again. However, Kimberly comes back to oversharing. And I'm a person that overshares because I was born French, which means I don't have any filters. It's called frank, for fuck's sake. And so I'm learning the filters, and I've been told, you overshare here, this is where you share, and that's feedback. But I'm also codependent. So feedback makes me trigger shame. So I'm fucked up, and I'm learning how to get unfucked up in a very gentle way. And sometimes I do get slapped in the face, and sometimes I need to be slapped in the face. Now, the last thing Joanne was talking about, and I forget what her point was, but I had something to share. Joanne, what were you talking about to crosstalk? Unmute yourself, sorry. Unmute yourself. You're still talking. Okay, I guess God doesn't want. I had a comment to make to you, and I can't remember what your point was. Kimberly, what was she talking about? Does anyone remember?
It was 2 shares ago.
Okay, I know.
All right. Just briefly about sponsoring from far away.
Right.
Well, I wanted to tell you, I was on the search and rescue team at our high school, so I've done a lot of training with firefighters. Oh, that's fun. And every cell phone that's a smartphone has a traceable number. So the only phones that aren't traceable by the fire department are old crappy phones. So most people, if it's set up properly, if they have 911, you can tell the fire part if all they need is the number, and they will trace her GPS. So that's what we learned. So that's just a dumb fact. See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and like every situation is different. I just got to say that as a disclaimer. So, not every situation warrants not sponsoring from afar, because sometimes you have someone who's been in the fellowship for multiple months or maybe a couple years, and they like your new flavor of sobriety. They're not at risk for relapse or for overdose. They just want a new flavor, and they've been sober 18 months. So sponsoring from afar via Zoom in that case is totally safe, because you're just giving them a new flavor and support. So each case is different, dependent. I had a girl reach out to me on social media because she saw a post about sobriety, and she said she was struggling. She's in Ontario. I have a girlfriend that's in Ontario, so I said, hey, I have a friend there. I'm still talking to this girl, but I've connected to her, somebody local for support as well. Because I mean, the pandemic will end one day, and you know, people will go on to their own lives, and some people will go to in person, and it's good to have that connection in the community, like Joanne said, 100%. Susan and Betty. Oh, I muted you again.
I know, we're playing like dueling mute. I just wanted to really quickly say that about the sponsoring from afar. I think, and for me, it occurs to me that if a newcomer finds somebody on Zoom that they admire or whatever and asks them to be a sponsor, what I would recommend, and what I have done even in meetings when somebody asks me to sponsor them, and I've sponsored a lot of women, is I say, well, I'd be glad to get you started. Do you have a big book? And then I get them started. But before I actually commit to being a sponsor, I tell them that I'm always available for a phone call if you need somebody to talk to. So put me on the top of your phone list. And then tell me the 3 people that are after me, because what I'm going to tell you to do is to call other people. But I agree. I think that a sponsor-sponsee relationship would be very hard, even with Zoom, would be very, very hard to do with a newcomer at a great length, a great distance. Like you said, it's one thing if, you know, you've got some sobriety and you're looking for something else, but for a newcomer, that relationship is a first time. You're a newcomer only once. And I think that's kind of a sacred relationship with a newcomer and their first sponsor. Anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Oops. Absolutely. Like, my sponsor lives in the US, and I got her 2 months prior to COVID, right? But I'm so far into my program. I'm not a newcomer. I totally agree with Joanne when it comes to someone new. Like, you know, I actually was on a meeting and someone was like very, very ill on the meeting, and you know, the meeting stopped to get that person medical attention. You know, and it's individual in each case. You never know. It just depends on the situation, but I absolutely agree. I don't see any more hands up, and it's 12:04, so let's serenity prayer it up, and that's the end of Bill's story. All right.